Hey everyone, I'm Chris from magicprincess.com. I'm lucky to be a master level kids entertainer. That means I've been to 3,000 kid parties. I'm making this video for my customers called Tips for the Best Party. So a quick side note reminder tip that folks often overlook is at the party I don't take checks, I can only take cash. So if you did not pay the full amount on your credit card before the party when you booked, I only take cash, please. Here's a section of this video I'm just going to put in the front, hoping that you'll share it with this person. I'm going to call this Knight in Shining Armor. When you check out on my system, it asks you to identify 2 or 1 adults who are available during the party to help me kid wrangle and do things I can't do when I'm in character. A lot of hostesses so kindly say, I can do it, and I promise almost every time a hostess has wonderfully, ambitiously tried to do this job, you're just not available for it. You have to walk away and do other things. So ideally, not a teenager, another adult, a sister-in-law, a cousin of yours, someone who is like, how can I help? You're like, well, you could help the princess. This person, if I do a show, puppets or magic or singing, will ideally sit with the kids while I'm performing, and if you see any kid who's being particularly disruptive or a toddler who's pulling on me, this person would just address it. The best thing to do is I often go shh during the story, or there are things built in like, we're at the river and the water sounds like this, shh. So if you see me doing that, Knight in Shining Armor, it's a good time to just quiet the kids. If someone's being particularly stoked and hard to manage, sitting right next to them works really well, but it makes such a difference. Any teacher will tell you in a group of 10, 15, 20, 25 kids, there's almost always 1 or 2 personalities who are so stoked, like, Elsa, you're on my lunchbox, and which is adorable, but then 50% of my attention is going to trying to wrangle that one kid, and it just detracts from the show. And also, during face painting or balloons, I by the grace of goodness, I've face painted 10,000 kids. I am a speed face painter. But still, if you want the line to go even faster, or you're worried you have a lot of kids, the Knight in Shining Armor can interview the next kid about what they want. I always say I can do any princess, any animal, or any superhero, or I can tell the Knight in Shining Armor like top 5 choices. And if they're interviewing who's coming up about what they want for their face paint, you're gonna see the line go much faster. Another great thing this helper can do is help if kids start bickering in line about who's next. When I'm in character, it just doesn't feel right to pick and choose who's next. So if they can help with that, that'd be great. Any kind of bossiness, they can address it. Another thing that would be so great is often if I'm sitting down painting, I experience the face paint moment as this child's big moment to like talk to Ariel, who they've been wanting to meet, or a pirate. And if the other kids are constantly yelling at me, which happens pretty much at every party, they're yelling at me what they're gonna have for their face paint, I feel like it detracts from this child's moment. The Knight in Shining Armor can kind of reiterate that, like, okay, stop yelling at Ariel and tell me what you want, so when it's your turn, she can pay attention to you. This is a good time for me to remind you that if you're watching this and thinking, I don't have enough help with the kids, or you can't think of an adult for this job, or if your party's in a couple days and the RSVP count has grown, which happens pretty normal, you can always text me right now and see if we can add a second performer. Sometimes I can do it at a discount, depending on your party city and stuff like that, and or lengthen my time if you're really worried that you might not have enough support for the kids. And this is the end of the section about Knight in Shining Armor, so this is a reminder, if you know who that person's going to be, if you could send them this video and see if they want to watch the first 3 minutes, and or I'll include a link to this video in your email confirmation a few days before the party, just reminding you to kind of identify who that person's going to be, and maybe share this video with them if you want to. That would really, it makes a difference if you can. The second huge thing you can do is help to control sound. You can't always do something about this, but 75% of the time you can contribute in a huge way. It means turning off music if I'm doing a show like magic, puppets, or singing. You can turn it back on during face painting balloons, but it's really not that. The loudest thing at parties is not the kids, it's the grown-ups talking. So I've never in 10 years found a polite way to address it. There's no polite way for me to address it. Sometimes I work for families who they know everyone, it's all their friends, and it's a repeat customer, and so they'll announce like, hey everyone, Ariel's gonna do a show in here. If you wanna chat, please go in the dining room, but we're gonna make this like a kid zone. Some people don't feel polite doing that. Maybe it's like the kids' friends from preschool's parents and you don't know them. So if that's the case, if during the show you can just kind of like meander around, and if they're chatting, just blame it on me and just say the character, you know, just say, Ariel asked if we can make it quiet in here. It makes such a difference. And see a huge difference if it's loud or not loud. All the difference, really sound, if you can do anything about it. Here's some optional stuff about setting up for the show. If I'm up against a wall, it's always better. A lot of people will put some kind of backdrop or decoration from the party store. You don't have to, but it's cute. And if we're doing a magic show or puppet story, I ask for one chair for me, the character, and one chair for the birthday kids so they can sit right next to me. And then I usually have everyone else sit on the carpet or for outside on the grass, ideally on a blanket and always under shade. That's kind of the ideal setup. Sometimes if I'm like Ariel, a mom will cover a chair with like felt and make like a rock, which is really cute. So some practical stuff, just to remind you, the best way to get a hold of me is text. From now, if you haven't booked the party, people text me city, date, and time. But through the whole planning process and on the day itself, just want to remind you, text is the best way to find Chris rather than voicemails or emails. Text is always fastest, even on the party day. A lot of people ask if I need a place to change. Nope, I arrive totally dressed. I would never want the kids to see me not in costume, which I consider this not in costume. And also parking. I would love if you can save me a parking place. It's not always possible. The dream would be if you can save me. There's a special place I really like, which is to be able to please park parallel, blocking your driveway. I know that seems weird, why not just park in the driveway? But many times when parents have generously offered me a driveway place, I've gotten blocked in by someone else later in the party. And then I'm so scared of being late to my next show. So I would love if I can park parallel, even if there's room in your driveway. Sometimes people put out a traffic cone. I don't know anyone that owns a traffic cone, but if you do, that'd be great. Or people put like a camping chair from the garage and just put a sign that says, saved for the mermaid. If you have a condo or a park and you know parking's gonna be hard and a cone thing isn't practical, it works so well to ask a dad or a cousin or a sister-in-law to use their car to make a place for me. So maybe it's even the knight in shining armor's car at the park, but basically they take up a place earlier in the day, because by the time I get there, there's 20 families and 20 cars. And then when I arrive, that person so graciously can move their car and repark it. I know it sounds like a lot to ask, so I totally don't expect it, but the people who do it, it makes a huge difference. Another cute thing that I would like to try to do if you're available to help is to make a grand entrance. I feel like when parents book, a lot of the fantasy is that moment of when their kid sees me for the first time. So I try really hard to like make that precious. I will text you when I'm a couple minutes away or I'm out front. What I love is if you can collect the kids standing up, holding hands in a circle, ideally indoors. I'll talk in a second about why I prefer indoors to outdoors. If they're standing up holding hands in a circle, I find that they're more likely to dance with me. I like to come in singing the character song usually, rather than having them politely sit down, because then they're kind of like, whoa. But if they're standing up holding hands in a circle, it makes a big difference. A couple practical things just came to mind. One is a reminder to make room on your phone. I can't tell you how many times there'll be a really cute moment or a grand entrance and I see the poor hostess frantically trying to like make room in her phone. Another practical thing that came to mind is to stash the candles for the cake and a lighter in your pocket or a dad's pocket or a drawer. It's often time to sing happy birthday and we can't find those things. And then another reminder is during cake, whether you have me there for cake or not, it's good to have a chair for the birthday kid to stand on. It just makes better pictures if they're standing up by the cake. Maybe this is a good time to talk about whether you want me there for the cake or not, and also photos. So birthday cake can take 5 minutes or it can take 25 minutes or 20 minutes. There's some cultures that do a big, beautiful ceremony around it. There's some families where it's just particularly chaotic and they want a lot of pictures. So if you specifically want me there for cake, it's good to put that in the order notes and that we can make room for it and not squeeze out time by trying to fit in too many other things. Same thing with one-on-one photos. I went to a party like 2 weeks ago where the mom had a cute background and a really good photographer. And she had a dream about doing one-on-one pictures, and she had smartly put that in the notes for the party. So if you want to do cake time or photos, let's explicitly identify time for that and leave time for that and not try to shove in too much other stuff. So there are pros and cons to having me there for cake or not having me there for cake. Sometimes I tell parents, like, use me for things, skill sets that, you know, you're paying me money, so use me for like face paint and balloons, and maybe do cake after I go, because it's really quite sad when I leave as the character. Sometimes kids will say like, oh, Sleeping Beauty, you're leaving, is the party over? And if I can say, no, you're still having cake, it's really nice. Or some people really want me in the pictures, so there's pros and cons to going both ways. So here's a word about timing at parties. I just want to reassure everyone, don't worry. When I had a big company, we had to be super standardized in what we did, and everything was clear cut, what character, exactly what they're doing, because the expectations had to be really clear. I, on the other hand, at this point, I'm very lucky. I've been to 3,000 shows. A lot of parents who book me will just type in the notes, bring everything and figure it out on the spot. But this is just to tell you, if you identify priorities in your activities, I can always switch the order. So if I get to the party and you're like, people are late, her best friend's not here, it's always easy for me to switch things around, start with face painting and save the show and the singing until you kind of like give me the wink that everyone's there. All of that stuff is really quite flexible. So here's a plug for why I like to be indoors versus outdoors. Now, granted, if you're having a party at a park and we have no choice, I will totally roll with anything. You can also move me around during the party. We can start the singing in the grand entryway and move face painting into the living room and do balloons on the patio. All that's fine. I just want to let you know that stuff I wouldn't have known until I had done 3,000 shows. One is outside. I'm a professional singer, so weddings know this too. Sound is just so easily lost. So if I'm singing or doing a show, it's so much better to be indoors. If we have to be outside, this is a reminder, pretty much one of my only requirements that's absolute is I ask for shade. We have to have shade. Even in San Francisco, it's overcasty, but as soon as the clouds move, we're in direct light. I'm already an adult and the kids are like looking up at me. So it's just uncomfortable for them if we're not under shade, even on a coolish day. Shade, and if we're outside, it's great to have a blanket. Another reason, little plug for indoors, is face painting. I would not have known this until I face painted for years and years, but outside, even on a beautiful day like today's really nice, there's a tiny breeze that gets like little hairs stuck in their paint. It's hard on me as the painter, but it's really hard on the kids because they just feel it and they go like this, and then their paint's on their hands and they get really upset. It takes them like a couple minutes to calm down because they feel like they wrecked their face paint. So that's just a plug for doing face paint inside if we can at all. Because a lot of parents ask me about goodie bags, I'll tell you my favorite goodie bag. I call it goodie books. If you go on like Amazon.com and find a book related to the theme, a storybook, or sometimes those little golden books come in bulk. You can buy them like 12 in a package. I love the idea of giving a kid a book as a goodie bag. If you specifically put it in my notes at the party and we don't cram too much other stuff in, we could also leave time where I could autograph the books, like, thank you for coming to Jenny's party, love, Belle, or whatever. It's really cute. And my favorite little craft idea, if you want to avoid glitter glue on your carpets, is to just go online, and if I'm Ariel or Sleeping Beauty, type Sleeping Beauty coloring pages and print out some coloring pages, dump out the family crayon bucket, and then you have a coloring table that matches the theme. Didn't cost you anything if the kids don't touch it, which sometimes happens. But then I can do the same thing and autograph those, which are really cute. And that's the end. You watched my whole video. Thanks so much. The last reminder is when I go, please distract them. I would never want them to see my car. So when I close the door, please don't let them follow me. And if you haven't booked, please text me your city, date, and time. This is a reminder that snippet about the knight in shining armor I'll email to you. So hopefully you can, if you can identify an adult to kind of play bouncer, it'd be amazing. And that's it.